One thing we know about life in general, since the beginning of time, since the beginning of human history, is change is a constant, change is inevitable. And in today's world, if you're looking outward, you can definitely see that there are so many different changes going on. It feels like we've been in the midst of this major shift for quite some time now. I mean, you can point to the rise of artificial intelligence, technology, the changing of the guards in terms of power structure. Um, just overall, this feels like a very pivotal time in human history and our evolution as a species. And there's a lot of different things going on. You know what I'm saying? We could really kind of look at several different things. I already pointed out artificial intelligence, technology. That's a big part of what's happening right now. And um, the inspiration behind this particular episode comes in the midst of what's been going on in that kind of industry of artificial intelligence and tech. And we're talking about DeepSeek and OpenAI and ChatGPT and all these other AIs that are coming out or that have been out, and all the work being put into the development of these different artificial intelligence and technologies, and how that pertains to how we operate and live as a society and as human beings, and what that means. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of a fun but scary conversation to have in terms of like what it all means, what type of impact it's gonna have on us as a society, right? Um, you can kind of go the doomer type of approach and look at it as it's kind of going to push us out as a species, right? Because essentially what we're doing is we're outsourcing any type of inconvenience, any type of service, any type of labor, or anything that we feel like is a problem. We're essentially trying to outsource it to AI. We're trying to outsource it to different technologies. And in the spirit of providing solutions for certain things, we've gotten to this point now where we're a lot of us, I won't say all of us, but many of us, especially in the newer generation, have become comfortable and even reliant upon technology to provide that fulfillment, to provide that comfort, that security. And you know what? In today's time, with that being the case, I started thinking to myself, where are we going with this? What's going on? Like I said, we can kind of take that doomer approach, right? Or we can kind of look at it as a time where it's a reckoning with oneself, right? For me, the way I'm looking at it is everybody seems to be moving in one direction towards artificial intelligence, towards technology, towards all these different things, right? That's obviously significant and impactful to what we do as a society. But at the same time, what I'm realizing is when everybody's going one way, that means we're not paying attention to another thing. And what I came to the realization of is that authenticity today is especially more important. It's especially more valuable because it's so rare. We're relying upon artificial intelligence. People live superficial lives. We don't even know what's real and what's fake anymore nowadays, right? It's all perception. And I think that the biggest thing we can do for ourselves as individuals that are constantly looking to learn and experience life in a fulfilling way and contribute to the world and the universe with our gifts is, I think the biggest thing we can do is direct our energy and intention and focus back inward even more, learning more about ourselves, our tendencies, our character, our nature, our personality, who we are at our core, who we are before we were programmed, who we are before we were conditioned. And, I had a meditation earlier today. I really just tuned out a bunch of noise, sat there with myself, was listening, was observing, and really just from a non-judgmental standpoint, watching my thoughts, not really putting any type of thought other than just kind of watching my mind produce thoughts. And it was interesting. What I came to the realization of in that time is that, like, as deep as you go within, there's always another layer to uncover. There's literally an infinite well of potentiality the more you go further and further within. And it's kind of a daunting thing, to be honest with you, you know what I'm saying? Especially when you've kind of lived majority of your life a specific type of way with a specific belief system. And, you know, you look at society and, you know, you think to yourself, like, this is kind of crazy, you know, like how potential actually works, and how much I have access to, and how much we all have access to if we're willing enough to go further within ourselves and meet ourselves at that deepest point. It's a daunting thing. It's a daunting thing for real, because when you come up out of it, I feel like you're back in this state of mind, you're back in this world where things are supposed to operate a certain type of way. And, you know, you start to think like, yo, man, none of this makes sense, but everything makes sense, if that makes sense. And right now I'm just kind of like emptying out the contents of what's going on in my mind right now. And it's so interesting, you know, because I myself, as a human being, right, and I think we all have the tendency to do it, we tend to look outside of ourselves for fulfillment. We tend to look outside of ourselves for validation, for security, for purpose, for whatever, right? For joy, for happiness, peace, contentment. We look for all of that outside of ourselves, when really, when we sit still in silence and we free ourselves from any type of distraction, and we just allow ourselves to be with ourselves, what we come to realize is, if you sit there long enough, all of those things are already in there within you already. You merely have to access them. And, you know, in a world, again, where things are moving fast, things are constantly changing, I think it's entirely more common now to become reactionary, right? Versus taking that pause, you know, taking that moment, finding that stillness, accessing that stillness, even when things are moving so fast. Excuse me. Even when things are moving so fast. But I think it's like I said earlier, authenticity right now is super rare. It's super rare. And I think the best way to maximize your potential in life, what I realize is to maximize my potential in life, is to stand on who I am. It's to stand on my business, stand on my moral beliefs, be myself unapologetically. And the way you can first start to do that is you got to learn who you are, right? You got to know thyself, right? And, you know, a lot of people, I think that they know themselves, because I was one of them people that thought that I knew myself. I'm like, oh, I'm Chris, I'm Filipino, I'm from San Francisco, I'm all these different things, right? And while those things may be true, and they are true, I'm even deeper than that. You're even deeper than that. And I think that in a society where, again, it's rare to be authentic, it's rare to be genuine, it's rare to be real, I think that what stands out the most is when people are trying to put on this facade. Like, people out there are wearing masks all the time. It's rare that you find an individual that's walking in their authentic nature. And when you feel that person's presence, whether you like them, love them, or hate them, right? That person is who they are, unapologetically. You think of like some of the people out here that are the most polarizing figures, right? Even people like Donald Trump, right? I think of a Kanye West. I think of even a Charles Barkley, right? People that are who they are at their core. Like, they don't fake nothing. They are exactly who they are. They will be who they are. Whether people agree with them, disagree with them, hate them, love them, it doesn't matter, because they walk in that authentic nature. And that, my friends, is super rare. And it's something I'm learning how to do with every fiber of my being. a quote resonates with me, and it comes from Jay-Z, Sean Carter, Jay-Z. And I think, it was from a clip from when he was talking about like, he was just talking about exactly what I'm talking about right now, just being yourself. But like, he was making a statement, and he was saying, no matter what room I'm in, no matter what room I walk into, I'm going to be myself regardless. I'm going to speak the same way in each and every room. I'm going to present myself the same way in each and every room. Think about that. How often do you do that? Because I thought about that myself. Like, when I'm going into different spaces, it's almost like I'm code switching, right? It's almost like, in order to be accepted, in order to not be attacked or not be judged, I have to kind of present myself a different way. Otherwise, conflict can ensue, right? Otherwise, all sorts of different things could potentially happen. But when you know yourself, and you've done the work to learn more and more about yourself, and you accept yourself, you respect yourself, you trust yourself, you also trust yourself to navigate through any of these situations, regardless if people are throwing stones at you. And those are the people that get the most respect. Those are the people that live the most fulfilling lives, in my personal opinion. I mean, I can't speak for a person entirely, right? I can only speak from my personal standpoint and my existence, right? But I think back to moments where I do authentically be myself, and I stand on what I believe in, and I know myself, right? Like, I spend the time to really dive deep and know myself, and discover just who I am and what I have to give and what my purpose is and what my reason is for being, right? And when you know that, and when you're rock solid on that, you're not gonna let nobody knock you off your square, right? And that's a powerful, powerful, powerful place to be. You know what I'm saying? That's a powerful way to live your life. And I'm learning how to do that more and more, right? Like, that is the internal work. That is the deep internal work of knowing oneself, of getting to know oneself. And the way you become confident in oneself is you gotta build trust with yourself, right? And when you build trust with yourself, the process goes, if you say something, if you put words out there and you say you're gonna do something, and you follow through on doing that, and you do that repetitively, guess what happens? You build trust with yourself. You build a deep connection with yourself. And then what happens is your confidence rises as a byproduct of that, right? And it's something that I'm really focused on nowadays, right? I'm really starting to change my whole mindset from going from a results-driven mindset to a process-driven mindset. And what does that mean, right? Like, of course I want certain things from my life, right? I see certain things in my life, and I know things are going to happen. I have a deep sense of knowing because I have been doing this work for some time, and I have a deep faith in, the work and what I'm doing and the direction I'm moving in. But what does that really mean? It really means to me is, like, instead of looking at like a final endpoint, a destination of where I'm trying to get to, I'm more so focused and committed to refining my process of knowing myself, becoming the best version of myself, and developing myself in all aspects of my life, right? And that requires time. That requires presence with oneself. That requires you to free yourself from anything that doesn't align with your values and the direction that you're moving in. And these are difficult things to do because, like I said earlier, when you've lived majority of your life a specific type of way for so long, it's easy to kind of want to just continue living in that way, right? Because you're comfortable in that way. But like, it's literally a tear down process of just like getting rid of that idea of who you think you are and who you even know yourself to be in this moment, but to open up the reality, the nature of who you are at your core, before all the conditioning, before all the programming. And I know this conversation is kind of jumping from here to there to here to there, but I hope that whatever happens after you listen to this, the main point, the main takeaway you take from this is to, first of all, know thyself, right? Spend time to get to know oneself, right? That's super important. And then after you start to begin to commit to that process of knowing oneself, stay committed to that and operate in your truest nature, in your authentic, truest nature. Know yourself to the core, know what you're capable of, know what you have access to, and operate from that space as much as possible, right? And recondition your mind to thinking other things that you're capable of, because you are. And I'm realizing this about myself, and there's a lot of different things within me that I'm having to address, or I'm choosing to address. I don't have to do nothing, right? I'm choosing to do this, right? Like, I'm choosing the perspective that I want to have in this life. I don't want to ever play a victim. I don't ever want to like just constantly keep judging other people. I'd rather take that energy and refocus it back into myself so that I can raise myself to the highest possible version of myself. That way I can perform at the highest possible levels. I can contribute more to the world. And that is the way I'm going to make my impact felt before ultimately my time is up. And that's deep, man. That's really deep. Like, for those that know, they know, you know what I'm saying? But like, for those that are still on kind of like the beginning stages of their awakening, I think that like the best thing you could do is do a self-assessment. You know what I'm saying? Just do a quick audit of your life, right? Look at where in your life you're spending a lot of time, where your emotions are getting pulled, and assess like, what is it that's in alignment with where I'm going, and what is it that's not in alignment with where I want to go. And then proceed with the removal process, right? And it's gonna take time. You got to be consistent in doing these things, right? Like, you're gonna have to meet yourself every single day. For me, I'll give you some of the tools that I do. Every single day I meditate. Every single day I practice gratitude. One of the first things in the morning that I do when I wake up is I allow my mind to kind of do what it needs to do, but then after a while, I find a way to tap into gratitude. In the moment when I wake up, am I looking at the negative things that may kind of first appear? Like, am I dealing with body pains and things of that nature, and I start to get into a complaining type of mode? Or do I decide to switch in that moment and say, hey, look, dude, you may be going through this pain right now, you may be going through this uncomfortability, whatever the case may be, but dude, think about it. You got a roof over your head. I'm so thankful for that. You got a blanket, you got a pillow, you got a comfortable ass bed. I'm so thankful for that. You know what I'm saying? And then I proceed to check in with myself. My eyes are working. My ears are working. All my limbs are functional, right? Yeah, I'm dealing with pains and discomforts, right? Like, that's the process of like aging and getting older and putting in the work, right? Because I know I'm putting in the work, right? So of course your body's gonna, feel some sort of stiffness and some sort of aches and pains and nicks and knacks and things of that nature, right? But the thing is, rather than go down that kind of space where you start to get negative and you stay at that low vibrational state, I tap into that gratitude. And after a long enough time, it gives me the jolt that I need to rise up out of bed. I give myself time to drink some water, wash my face, run to the bathroom, and then I proceed to journal. Journaling has been one of the greatest gifts that I can give myself, to be honest with you guys, man. I literally just empty the contents out of my mind onto a piece of paper, and whatever I'm feeling, the paper does not judge me. I do not judge me. I just allow whatever's on my mind at that time and I just jot it down. There needs to be no rhyme or reason. It doesn't have to be poetic, none of that shit. It's you and the page, and it's your personal thoughts. And what that does for me is just frees up so much space and allows clarity to flow again, you know what I'm saying? And then after that, for me personally, I'm like super productive more in the morning. So that's when I get to like a lot of different work, right? That I've already pre-planned the night before. And so I don't eat my first meal until about 11, maybe even 12, sometimes even later. I don't have my first cup of coffee until later on either. And going back to earlier when I was talking about refining my process, this isn't even finalized. I'm trying to figure out what works best for me, right? I'm constantly looking at the process and how I can refine what I do in order to maximize my potential and maximize the time that I have each day. And, what I noticed for myself is working out like maybe around 12 or 1 p.m. is kind of like a good thing for me. But I think, actually, I'm just sharing this with you all right now. This is a very raw thought, but I think what I'm probably going to do is switch my workout routine to the morning just to kind of get that blood pumping earlier in the day, even if it's a difficult thing to do, just kind of like make that one of the first things that I do. Because I think back to the time when I was living in Hawaii and I used to do that. I used to work out, like I used to wake up at like 4:30 in the morning, hop on the bus and get to the gym like around 5:30 or, slightly before, and get my workout in. And just kind of like after that, take a shower at the gym, go to a coffee shop, do some work. And then I think I was usually scheduled to work later on around 11 o'clock. So, I'd be able to do some things within the area and then just go right to work, right? But again, it's the focus on the process, right? You have to kind of look at like what you need to do and really get organized, really, really zoom in and become more and more pragmatic about what it is you can do to kind of maximize your day, right? And in order to do this, you really got to know yourself, right? Like to really do this in the most efficient manner, you better know yourself, right? And if you know that and look, my personal routine may work for you, may not work for you, but you got to know yourself. Like some people are more productive at nighttime, right? Some people actually like to operate more at nighttime. So you got to kind of identify this within yourself, right? Before you can really make strides in your life, right? Like, so for me, that's really what it's about right now. It's just really focusing on the process. What am I doing well? What am I doing not so well? What can I do better, right? And having these truthful conversations with myself, these assessments with myself, it's so helpful, super helpful. And it allows me to stretch out my day more. Even though, to be quite honest with you, it feels like every day there's not enough time in the day. There's always something to be done. I'm always on to the next thing, enjoying what I'm doing, learning, and being present. And it's been a great gift. But just to wrap things up here, what I'm saying, because this episode's been going pretty long, but to wrap things up, I think right now, the main thing, again, I want y'all to take away is like, understand the power of your authenticity and to walk in your authentic light, in your authentic nature. And the best way to go about doing that, again, is you got to know oneself, right? You got to keep going further within to learn who you are at the core. I'm talking about before you were given the set of circumstances you're in, before you've experienced what you've experienced, before you were programmed, before you were indoctrinated, all these different things. You got to learn who you are at that most natural level, right? And man, the layers of the onion go deeper and deeper, man. So I advise you to just stick with it. It's a difficult thing to do sometimes, to meet yourself at that highest level, but man, when you do and you kind of address certain things, you find peace with certain things about yourself, you accept yourself, you embrace yourself, you learn to love yourself, you treat yourself kindly with grace, respect, love, and all these different things that really can kind of come about in your life is really unique and special, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, that's all I really want to leave y'all with, man. I know that this episode right here is it went a bunch of different ways, but I know there's a lot of gems that y'all can mine from this. You could sift from this, but with that being said, man, I really appreciate y'all tapping in, and I'm having so much fun doing this and connecting with y'all. I want to know all y'all thoughts in the comments about what I just said, because it's very unscripted, very raw. It's super authentic, which is the whole theme of this whole episode. It's gonna be unedited. It's just gonna be straight up raw, and I'm giving it to y'all like that, man. So I want to know y'all thoughts, man. Please do connect with me, man. All my socials are going to be in the detailed description of this episode. So make sure y'all tap in. If you got any questions, comments, or concerns, or you want to create any type of dialogue about anything that I said in this episode, man, hit me up in the comments, man. Let's talk about this shit, man. Let's chop this shit down. And yeah, man, I wish y'all well, man. It's a beautiful world. It may not seem like that from whichever point of view you're kind of looking at it as, but man, there's so much. It's so much beauty. We're so lucky to be alive. That's just how I feel, and I know, and I want everybody to experience that. I want everybody to understand that how lucky you are to be alive. But with that being said, man, I wish all y'all well. Thank you for tapping into Unlocking Levels, man, and I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.